My talk is titled What Malware Authors Don't Want You to Know, Evasive Hollow Process Injection. In this presentation, I'll talk about some of the hollow process injection techniques used by the attackers in the wild to confuse, bypass, divert, and deflect forensic analysis. So before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Monappa. I work with Cisco's incident response team. I'm also a co-founder of a community called SysInfo, where we contribute tools, articles to the community. So if you're interested, you check out sysinfo.com. And I'm also author of a Linux sandbox called Limon. And I'm also the winner of Volatility Plugin Contest 2016. So I'll be talking about that plugin as part of this talk. And I've presented at various conferences like Black Hat, First, 4.6, and I also conduct trainings at these conferences. So, and also published articles in various magazines. So that's about me. So before getting into the topic of process hollowing, let me first introduce you to process memory internals. So what happens when a process starts? Let's say in this case there is a process svc host.exe. When a process starts, the process memory is allocated, which is represented here, and the process is loaded into the memory. The executable section of the process is loaded into the memory. In this case, you see it's loaded at this address, and when it is normally loaded, the memory protection, the memory permission is write, copy, execute. That's represented as WCX here. So apart from the executable, the DLLs that the process relies on is also loaded into the memory. And also there is one important structure that resides in the process memory called PEB, which is process environment block, which is represented here. Now this process environment block contains metadata related to this process. For example, here you see it's saying that the PEB structure, this is called PEB, it's called process environment block. You see that it's telling that at this address, svc host.exe is loaded and the full path to the executable. And also, this PEB structure also keeps track of 3 double linked lists, which also contains metadata associated with the loaded modules. When I say loaded modules, it is executable and the DLLs. So why am I saying this? Because the tools rely on walking these double linked lists to get the information related to the loaded modules. That is the executable, the DLLs, where they are loaded and so on. So now what are these 3 double linked lists? So the PEB keeps track of the loaded modules in 3 different lists. One is load order module list, memory order module list, and in order module list. The load order module list, it keeps track of the loaded modules in the order in which they are loaded. In this case, if svc host.exe was loaded first, so the structure would contain information related to svc host.exe and then the information related to the DLLs. In memory order module list, it keeps track of all the loaded modules in the order in which they reside in the memory. Because they loaded first doesn't mean it has to reside in the memory first. So it can reside in any order. So this double linked list contains information about the order in which these loaded modules are residing in the memory. And in init order module list, it keeps track of the modules in the order in which they are initialized. Now all the 3 double linked lists should contain same information, except this init order module list, because there is nothing called as initialization for executable. The executable will not be present in this list. Like for example, you see svc host.exe related data is present in this list and this list, but not present in this list. So this is about the user process memory. This is in the user process memory. But in the kernel memory, there is a similar structure called VAD tree structure. VAD stands for virtual address descriptor. It's a binary tree, as you can see here. Each node represents a contiguous memory allocation. Like for example, this node might be representing a contiguous memory allocation in the process memory. Like for example, here you see this node is representing this section of memory here. It is telling that this is the base address and this is the path to the executable, and this is the memory protection of this region where executable is loaded. Same way, if a DLL is loaded, one of the node will represent where the DLL is loaded, what is its full path, and the memory protection. So what is the use? Because this is in the process memory, the attackers can install a module and they can unlink itself to hide from the tools that rely on enumerating the process. The tools rely on enumerating the loaded modules by walking this double linked list. If let's say he wants to hide a DLL, he can point the forward link to this guy and the backward link of this one to this process. So that way, tools that is relying on walking the double linked list will miss a module. Okay. But correlating that information with the WAD tree structure in the kernel will help you determine the discrepancy. So here is a screenshot from a plugin from Volatility. Volatility is an advanced memory forensic framework. It can take a memory image and you can run plugins on that. In this case, you see I'm running a plugin called DLL list on a memory image. I'm listing the DLLs of a particular process. You see that it is displaying all the information like the base address, the full path to the executable, and the full path to the DLL and so on. How is it getting the information? The DLL list is getting the information from the PEB structure. It is walking this double linked list. First it goes to this structure, gets the information related to svc host.exe, that is the base address, size, full path, and displays it here. The same way, the next row comes from here. It walks the double linked list, gets that information, displays it here. So the tools rely on this double linked list. The tools rely on this double linked list to enumerate the loaded modules. So the DLL list plugin relies on the PEB, which is in the user process memory. Okay. So like I said, it is possible that the attacker can unlink a DLL of his choice, unlink a module of his choice, because of which there is another plugin in the Volatility. What this plugin does is, it compares all the three PEB lists with the WAD tree structure. And if there is any discrepancy, you will get to know about it. For example, here you see the output. It is telling that the svc host.exe here is present in the in-load order module list, that is this one. And it is telling that it is also present in the in-memory order module list, that is this one, which is correct. But it is not present in the in-init order module list. That is expected because it's an executable. It will not be present in the in-init order module list. Whereas you see all the other DLLs, it's telling that it's present in all the three double linked lists. So if there is a discrepancy, you will see one of them to be false, which tells you that a module was probably unlinked from the double linked list to hide from the forensic tools. So now that was about the basics of process memory internals. Now before going into the topic of evasive hollow process injection, let me first talk about the normal hollow process injection, the traditional hollow process injection, and let's see how it works. So, and before that hollow process injection, let's try to understand what is a code injection, because hollow process injection is a code injection technique. So what is code injection? Code injection is a technique where a malware injects code into a legitimate process and it forces the legitimate process to execute that malicious code. So what is the idea is, the code doesn't reside on the disk, it's only in the memory, it's fileless. And also, second thing, it can bypass your hard disk forensics, because if you're doing any hard disk forensics, there is nothing on the disk. And also it can bypass the whitelisting softwares because the code is injected into the legitimate process, so the whitelisting softwares will not flag it. So that's code injection in simple terms. Then what is hollow process injection, also called as process hollowing? Hollow process injection is a code injection technique in which I told you when a process is executed, the executable is loaded into the memory. The executable section of the legitimate process is replaced by the malicious executable. And then that legitimate process is forced to execute. So how does it work? This is how it works. There is a malware process which creates a legitimate process in the suspended mode. It's suspended, but still this executable is loaded into the memory. The executable section is loaded into the memory. Then this legitimate process executable section is deallocated, a new memory is allocated, and the executable is malicious executable is injected into the executable section of the legitimate process, and then the thread is made to point to the injected executable and resumed. As a result of that, for the lifetime of the legitimate process, it will be running the malicious code that is injected. So again, if you look at the path of the legitimate process, it will look normal. Only in the memory, there is malicious code. So this is the reason why attackers use hollow process injection. So let's take an example of how Stuxnet did hollow process injection. So this is how it worked. There was a malware process that created a legitimate process in the suspended mode. That is, in this case, it created lsas.exe in the suspended mode. As a result of that, lsas.exe's executable was loaded. Because it was normally loaded, it has a permission of write copy protection. It was loaded at this address, let's say. So the PEB and all its three double linked list is initially pointing to this. It is telling that the base address of lsas.exe is here, and the full path to lsas.exe is this. Whereas the kernel structure, the WAD structure, also has a node that is representing this section of memory. It tells this is the base address, this is the full path, and this is the memory protection. So what attackers did next was, they hollowed out this section of memory. As a result of that, the WAD node that is representing this section of memory is gone. They allocate a new memory and they injected the malicious code. So after that, it will look like this. You see that this is before, this is after. And notice the discrepancy, because attackers cannot allocate a memory protection with a write copy protection, because Microsoft API does not allow you to do it. So they have to allocate a memory with a protection of read, write, execute, and then inject the code. This is one of the discrepancy that can be used to look for code injection or hollow process injection. Another thing, notice the PEB is still saying that the lsas.exe is at this address, whereas the WAD does not show you the path to that lsas.exe. So this discrepancy, the discrepancy between the PEB and the kernel tree structure, the WAD tree structure, can be used to determine the hollow process injection. Let me show you with a screenshot how that works. So this is a memory image of a, this is a image that's an infected Stuxnet image, memory image. So one method to detect hollow process injection is running the process listing, look for the parent-child relationship. Now you see that there are 3 lsas.exe running on a system, but you see that one of the lsas.exe has a parent ID of 624, which is associated with winlogon.exe, which is normal. On a clean system, lsas.exe is started by winlogon.exe, which is normal. But the other 2 lsas.exe process was started by another process which has a process ID of 668, which is associated with services.exe, which is not normal. So now this is one of the indication of hollow process injection, which tells you that someone else started this lsas.exe. That's first thing. Second, I told you compare the discrepancy between the PEB and the WAD. I told you that DLL list relies on the PEB structure that is in the user process memory. So you see that the DLL list is showing that lsas.exe is loaded at this address, 1 followed by 6 zeros, whereas LDR modules, which compares the data from the PEB and the WAD tree structure, shows no path at the same base address. So this is another discrepancy. Then I told you that another thing to look for is the memory protection. So there is a plugin in Volatility called Malfind, which is a pretty cool plugin. It looks for suspicious memory regions. In this case, what it's telling that at this address, there is an executable. Remember this address? According to the PEB, this is the address where lsas.exe is loaded. You see that there is an executable, but it has a page execute read write protection, which is not normal. Whenever an executable is normally loaded, it should have a memory protection of page execute write copy. This is another discrepancy that tells you that the process was hollowed out. Okay, that was Stuxnet. This is, again, I have not come to the Evasio hollow process injection yet. I'm talking about the traditional hollow process injection. Stuxnet was one of the malware that did hollow process injection. Then let's look at another sample called Skia. Let's see how it does hollow process injection. Skia does it something slightly differently. So what it does, it starts a legitimate process in the suspended mode, svchost.exe, which was loaded here with a write copy protection because it was normally loaded. PEB is initially pointing to this. There's a WAD tree structure which is representing this section of memory. It is telling the protection is this. That's good. But what Skia did was, it hollowed out this memory region next, and instead of allocating the memory in the same region, it allocated a memory in a different region and injected the code. You see, this is how it looks like. So this is what svchost.exe was loaded. It hollowed it out. It hollowed this section of memory. Then it allocated a new memory in this region, that is 4 followed by 5 zeros, and then injected the code. Because the attacker cannot allocate a memory with a write copy protection, he has to allocate read write execute protection. So which is another thing that you can look for when you're looking for the hollow process injection. And also notice the PEB now says that the svchost.exe is loaded at this address, which is the injected executable, but there is no corresponding WAD entry, because the WAD, when it hollowed out this section, it hollowed out this region of memory, so there is no WAD. So what kind of discrepancy that it creates? Let me show you that. So first, like I said, one method, list the process, look for the parent-child relationship. Here you see that there are multiple instances of svc host.exe running on a system. All the svc host.exe has a parent ID of 696, which is associated with services.exe, which is normal on a clean Windows system. All svc host.exe process is started by services.exe, which is normal. But there is one process here, which is process ID 1824, which was started by another process 1768. You see that is no longer present in the memory, probably because it injected the code and terminated itself. So, but it tells you that because it was not started by services.exe, this is a malicious executable. Then, like I said, compare the discrepancy between the WAD and the PEB. The DLL list, listing the DLLs, which relies on the PEB structure, that is the process environment block, shows you that svc host.exe was loaded at this address, that is 4 followed by 5 zeros, but you will see no corresponding entry for svc host.exe in the LDR modules. So it's a discrepancy that you can look for to detect hollow process injection. Another thing, like I said, malfind. Malfind, like I said, it looks for suspicious memory regions. You see that it tells you that at this region there is an executable. Because of the permission, you can tell that it was not normally loaded, which means someone injected executable into this region. So these are some of the things that you can look for in a traditional hollow process injection technique. So instead of running 3 different plugins like the DLL list, LDR modules, and malfind, what I did was I wrote a plugin to detect this type of hollow process injection, which automates the detection of hollow process injection. What it does is it compares the discrepancy between the PEB and the WAD and the things that I talked about, and then it directly identifies the process that is the victim of hollow process injection and displays it for you. So showing the screenshot here running against the first memory image Stuxnet, you see that once run it'll enumerate through each and every process looking for the discrepancy between the PEB and the WAD, and it will tell you that lsas.exe with the process ID 868 is suspicious, and also here you see that it is showing the discrepancy between the WAD and the PEB in one screen so that you don't have to run multiple plugins. You see the WAD doesn't have a path, whereas the PEB is showing the path to the executable. So this is a discrepancy. Like I said, Stuxnet, this is one of the discrepancy that you look for. It's already automated within this plugin. Then you see that it is also telling you this memory region is not normal because it's saying there is an executable, but if it is normally loaded, it should have a page execute write copy protection. But here it has a page execute read write protection, which is normal, which tells you that this is suspicious. Apart from that, the plugin also displays the parent-child relationship. You see that it is telling there are 3 lsas.exe process, the one that we saw, but it also shows you the parent process, which tells you that there are 2 process lsas.exe which are started by services.exe, which is not normal. So it's easy to identify which is the suspicious process. And also it displays the suspicious memory regions as well. So it automates the work of 3 different plugins, DLL list, LDR modules, and the malfind plugin. And it tells you that this is a suspicious memory region because there is an executable PE found, that's an executable, but it has a page execute read write protection. So using this plugin, you can detect the hollow process injection. That's against Stuxnet. Now running the same HoloFind plugin against the Skia, the second variant, you see that it also detects that discrepancy. It tells you that svc host.exe is bad. And you see that here it created a different discrepancy. You see that the WAD doesn't have any entry for the svc host.exe, whereas the PEB has an entry for the svc host.exe, and also the region where the PEB is telling the svc host.exe is loaded has a wrong memory protection, which tells you that the executable was injected into this region. And also it tells you the the parent-child relationship, which will help you spot the discrepancy pretty easily. As you can see, all the legitimate process is started by services.exe, whereas this process was started by someone else. And also, like I said, it displays the suspicious memory regions. In this case, it is telling us this region, which is this region here, where according to the PEB, where svc host.exe is loaded, there is a executable, but it has a page execute read write protection, which is not normal. So this is how you can automate the hollow process injection. But the HoloFind plugin is not just to automate the traditional hollow process injection, it also automates the detection of the evasive hollow process injection, which I'll be talking now. So far what I talked about is the hollow process injection that is documented. Okay, now I'm going to talk about some of the techniques that are used by the attackers in the wild, which will bypass some of the forensic tools, which will confuse the analyst, which will deflect your analysis. So let's get started with the evasive hollow process injection. So the first sample that I'm going to talk about is called Tidor. So what Tidor does is, Tidor first creates, the first step, it creates a legitimate process, svchost.exe in the suspended mode. You see that it is loaded at this address, 1 followed by 6 zeros, that is the base address because it was normally loaded. You see the path to the executable and see the protection because it was normally loaded, it has a write copy protection. Okay, so but it's in the suspended mode. Then what Tidor did was, if you remember Stuxnet and Skia, it hollowed out the executable section. Here, it did not hollow out the executable section, it is still there, which means the svchost.exe in the suspended mode is still there. What it did was, it allocated a different memory region at this address, 4 followed by 5 zeros, and next it wrote the executable, malicious executable into that address. Then it modified the PEB structure. I told you PEB contains the information about where the executable is loaded. It modified the base address of the PEB to point to this address, the injected executable. So in case, and then what it does is, it resumes the thread. As a result of that, what happens is, it's hard to visualize, so this diagram should help you visualize what happened. So the malware created svchost.exe in the suspended mode. You see initially it has a write copy protection. This is the address where it is loaded, PEB and VAD pointing to that. Then I told you the svchost.exe is still there. That is a suspended svchost.exe, that's a legitimate executable. You see it's still there, it did not hollow out, but it allocated a new memory in this region and injected an executable, and it modified the PEB to point to this region. Now according to the PEB, svchost.exe is loaded at this address, but notice the discrepancy here. According to the VAD, svchost.exe is still here. Okay, which means now the same process has 2 different base address. So that's a discrepancy, that's first discrepancy. So how does this create discrepancy in the memory forensics? Okay, so let's see. Let me show you a video demo let's analyze the memory image of a sample that is infected with Tidor, and let me show you how it creates a discrepancy. Okay, so first, this is the Tidor. I am running the pslist command and looking for svchost.exe. You see that there are multiple instances of svchost.exe, and all of them are started by 572, except this guy, as you might have expected, that 572 process is services.exe, which is normal, but this process is not normal because it was started by someone else. That's first discrepancy. Then I'm listing the modules of the suspicious process. You see that this is coming from I ran the DLList plugin now. This is coming from the PEB structure. You see that it is telling svchost.exe is loaded at this base address. This is coming from the PEB. Okay, that's fine. So let's look at the LDR modules, what it says, because that is also looking at the PEB, and also it is comparing the result with the VAD structure. You see that it is saying svchost.exe is loaded at this base address. That's a different base address. Now this is a confusion, right? A same process cannot have 2 different base addresses. That's first thing. Second, also, if you paid attention to what I said in the process memory internals, I told you these LDR modules relies on the 3 double linked list and the PEB, VAD tree structure. You notice what is saying here. It is telling you that in the in-load order module list, svchost.exe is not present, and in memory order module list, it's not present. So it is giving you a feeling that this module has been unlinked. So it is telling you this is your malicious module, but is it really malicious? Let's see, because you know what's in this address. This is just the svchost.exe in the suspended state. It's not really malicious. So it is basically confusing you. It is confusing the tool that relies on the kernel data structure to believe that this is the, to give you a feeling that this is the malicious module even without installing a kernel driver. Okay. Now, you can take 2 paths. either you will be analyzing this executable that is loaded at this address or the executable that is loaded at 4000. But if you rely on this, because LDR modules is more reliable and it's relying on the kernel data structure, and if you think that this is malicious and if you start dumping it and start analyzing it, you will see that, let me show you that, what happens. So I'm going to dump that section of memory that is 1 followed by 6 zeros, which is where the suspended svc host.exe is loaded, okay? And to show you that I submit that to VirusTotal just to see what VirusTotal tells. You see that 1 out of 56 AV vendors are detecting as malicious, but it's not really malicious, it is looking for the heuristics. Because it's in a suspended mode, it is telling that it is probably malicious. Again, you might get a feeling that it's malicious and you might stop your analysis and you might forget to focus that there is another executable that you might want to focus. Also, let me show you, if you search the strings, if you look at the strings of the module that I dumped, you see there are very less strings, which is not normal, right? Because we dumped the svc host.exe that is in the suspended state. Okay, so which means we have dumped this legitimate executable. And so then how do we detect it? There is one way. You can run the malfind plugin, because there is one thing that can give away that there is a malicious code at this address. That is 4 followed by 5 zeros. Because if you remember from the diagram here, we dumped this one and analyzed it. That is not malicious, but there is an injected executable here at a different base address. That can be detected because there is a memory protection of read, write, execute. So that's what malfind does. You can still detect it by running the malfind plugin and looking for the memory protection discrepancy. You see that the memory protection has a discrepancy which can tell you that there is an executable, but the memory protection is not normal. So this is malicious. So now you can dump this and analyze it. That's what I'll do. I'm going to dump this section of memory here. I'm going to use proc dump and dump that section of memory. Now you have dumped this base address that is 4 followed by 5 zeros. And now let's see what happens. Now I do the same thing. I submit to VirusTotal. Let's see what it says. Now you see that the 25 out of 55 AV vendors detect it as malicious. And you see that now it says, you now know that it's a malicious component. And now you do a string search on that executable. You have a lot more strings. You have references to the command and control server IP address that it connects to and the HTTP pattern that it connects, that it uses. The idea of this example was to show you that without even installing a kernel driver, just by not hollowing the process and injecting into an executable, it confused the plugins that rely on the kernel data structure, and it gave you a false positive. It told you that this executable, this is hollowed out, this is unlinked, which is, so if you are focusing your direction there, you will be misled and you will be focusing your analysis in the wrong direction if you didn't know how this hollow process injection worked. So now how to detect it? HollowFind plugin, like I said, can detect this as well. So I ran HollowFind plugin on this memory image that is infected with Tidor. It detects this type of hollow process injection as well. So you see that in one screen it tells you there is a base address discrepancy. First of all, there is, for svc host.exe, there are two different base addresses. And you see that this base address is legitimate because it has a write copy protection. Remember, this is the svc host.exe in the suspended mode, this memory. But it can easily tell you that this is the injected executable because it has a page execute read write protection, and there is an executable here. And also, it also tells you the parent-child discrepancy, which is easy to spot. And then you see that it is telling you that this memory region here is bad because there is an executable and that does not contain a page execute read write permission. So HollowFind plugin can automate this process. It can detect different variations of hollow process injection. So that was the first case. But another malware, let's look at another malware sample called Kulos. It uses slightly different variation of hollow process injection, which also creates confusion, which can also divert you, which can confuse you, and which can also deflect your analysis. So first let's try to understand what it does. Okay? Or first let me show you the diagram before I show the code, and then explain that, and then let me show you Let me show you how exactly it does that. So what Kulos does is, it creates the malware in the suspended state, svchost.exe. Let's say in this case it loaded at this address, 12 followed by 4 zeros. The PEB is initially pointing here, the VAD structure is pointing here, and it is giving the full path to the executable. Okay. Then what Kulos did was, this is the malware process, right? So this is the process that is going to inject the code. First, Kulos allocated a memory in its own memory region, in its own process. It copied a code that it wants to inject into the remote process, not the executable. It copied a code that it wants to inject into the remote process. Then what it did was, it used, instead of using virtual alloc X API and write process memory to write into the remote process, it used what is called as NT map view of section. What it does is, it copies this section of memory where, which contains the code. It contains the code in its own memory into the remote process and copies it into this region here. You see here, it copies the code. This is the code which copied it into this region. And then what it did is, it copied the content of the svchost.exe into its own memory region. It patches that svchost.exe content, and then it hollows out this X section of memory. It allocates a new memory and copies the patched code back into the executable section. Now, this is where the svchost.exe was loaded. You see here, there is a code that is injected into this address, that is 6 followed by 4 zeros, and there is a patched executable. So what is this patch executable? So when the thread is resumed, what happens is, it will start execute this patched executable, and the patched executable redirects the communication to the injected executable. So this injected executable is the one that is doing all the malicious activity. Now in this case, this svchost.exe is just redirecting the connection to that injected executable. So how exactly that works? Let me show you how exactly that works. First, Kulos created svchost.exe in the suspended mode. Then it allocated a new memory in that region, that 6 followed by 4 zeros, in the diagram that I showed, with a paid execute read write protection, that is RWX. And then it copied, using the NT map view of section method, it copied the code that it wants to inject into this region. You see here, this is the region. First it injects code. Here, this is a code. It injects into this region. Notice this memory region has read write execute permission, right? Even the code that is injected has a read write execute permission. Then if you remember, svchost.exe is loaded at this address. It unmaps that particular section of memory. Before unmapping, what it did was, it copied the code, svchost.exe code, it patched few bytes, and then copied back into the same region. You see now, after copying, there is no path to the svchost.exe because it hollowed that section of memory. Now it has read write execute permission, but now it has a patched executable. Okay? Show you what is that patched executable. It modifies the first few bytes of the address of entry point. That is, it only modifies the first 7 bytes. So what are these 7 bytes? Is this. You see that it's a no op instruction, push and a ret. Basically, it is redirecting the control flow to this address where the code is injected. So which means, if you are analyzing, there is only 3 instructions that are different. The rest all are legitimate svchost.exe code. Okay, so that is the diagram that I showed you. So when it executes, control will go to this svchost.exe, which will redirect the control to this region. Okay, so if you are just finding this svchost.exe, and if you are dumping or analyzing, you are not getting too much, because only 3 instructions are modified. The rest all are legitimate svchost.exe code. If you dump that region and run it in sandbox or reverse engineering, you might spot it. But if you are running in an antivirus scanner or doing something with it, you might not detect anything because you are missing this component. So what kind of discrepancy this hollow process injection creates? Let me show you a memory image that is infected with Kulos, and let me show you what happens. So this is the memory image that is infected with Kulos. Running the pslist plugin, you see that multiple instance of svc host.exe. As you might have expected, this is the svc host.exe that is malicious because it's not started by services.exe. It was started by some other process, that is order.exe. Okay. Then comparing the peb list, the DLL list peb, you see that according to the peb, svc host.exe is loaded at this address, A followed by 4 zeros. Okay. And then LDR modules, let's look at LDR modules, what it says. At the same address, you will see that there is no path to the executable. Notice, this is similar to Stuxnet. Now, if you know traditional hollow process injection, you will think that this is a Stuxnet kind of hollow process injection. But remember what's in this address? It's the svc host.exe code that is just redirecting. Okay? So what about malfind? Okay? Let's see what malfind says. Malfind also gives you the feeling, because it's read write execute. The reason it's read write execute because it deallocated and allocated memory and copied the patched executable. It is still giving a feeling that it's page execute, read write, and it is still malicious. But the malfind is not giving you a relationship that the code is being redirected. But malfind, even though it does not give you the relationship, it tells you that there is a region of memory which is suspicious because it has page execute read write. Remember this region, this is the region where the code was injected. But it is possible that because it does not show you the relationship between these two, that this executable is going to redirect the connection to this region, you might miss this component because you know that everything is telling you that this is a traditional hollow process injection. So what you might do is, you might be happy saying that you found the Stuxnet kind of hollow process injection. What you will be doing is you will probably dump the executable, that is the patched svc host.exe. Now let's say you are analyzing this, and let's say you submit to VirusTotal. What will happen? It will tell you that AV vendors also tells you that it's malicious. That is because of the heuristics, not because it's completely malicious. Because there are few patched instructions, it is telling you that malicious. But everything here is giving a feeling that if you miss it, it's giving a feeling that it's malicious. You found the malicious component. But neither the AV nor the malfind will tell you there is a redirection. Okay? So which means you will be focusing your analysis on this. Now you might dump this, run it in a sandbox, reverse engineer it, analyze it. So that's exactly what I'm going to. So I'm showing you that this, if you are missing this region. So what you'll do is, you might take the dumped executable, run it in a sandbox or reverse engineering. Then what you are doing is, you are analyzing the legitimate executable except the 3 instructions, right? You are missing this component. But let me show you, this component is malicious, the one that is at 6 followed by 4 zeros. Okay, let me dump that section of memory and submit to VirusTotal now. You see that now when I submit to VirusTotal, it says that it is component of Kulos. Okay? In case you know traditional hollow process injection, you think that you found the traditional hollow process injection, and if you dump it and you analyze it, you will be misled, and there is no way to tell there is a redirection. So to address that problem, what I did was, again, the HoloFind plugin, I implemented a logic in the HoloFind. I'm running the HoloFind plugin against this memory image of this, which is infected with Kulos, and you see that the hollow process injection runs, and it will come and tell you if there is any discrepancy. You see that it is telling here that svc host.exe is bad, and notice it is telling you there is a path discrepancy, which is similar to Stuxnet, right? And it is telling you this memory region is suspicious because it has a different memory protection. Apart from that, here, it also disassembles the address of entry point for you, which will tell you there is a redirection to this address. So here we solved that problem which malfind couldn't do, where now you can tell that you know that you have to focus your analysis in this region as well, because there is a redirection to this region. Now, like I said, apart from displaying the similar process, it also displays the suspicious memory regions. You see that now you know that you have to focus here. It tells you that it's similar to malfind. It tells you that there is no P, but it has a page execute read write protection, that is suspicious, and it also tells you that there is a P executable, but it does not have a page execute write protection. So now you know you will be able to identify both the components, one that is doing the redirection, one that is doing the malicious activity. Okay. So that was about Kulos. But next thing that I wanted to do was to see, if you remember, the existing plugins in case of Malfind, the existing volatility plugin in case of Malfind was able to detect the region where the code was injected. But I wanted to check if there is a way that we can hide that injected code. Everything will look like the traditional hollow process injection, and it's possible that you will miss the injected code which is doing the malicious activity. To do that, what I did was I modified the Kulos code to start explorer.exe in the suspended mode. That is not a big deal. And what I wanted to do was, instead of read-write execute protection, because Malfind was looking for suspicious memory regions which has read-write execute protection, that's why it found that a code that was injected as 6 followed by 4 zeros. If I can change the memory protection somehow to page execute write copy, I will be able to bypass that, because Malfind was not designed to look for this discrepancy. If I inject code and modify the memory protection to write copy, probably I'll be bypassing the memory forensics as well, because code injection is to bypass hard disk forensics, so we have memory forensics to detect it. But if we do this, we will be able to bypass the memory forensics and we'll be able to confuse the analyst, divert the analysis. So to do that, I wanted to allocate a memory with a read-write copy protection, but the MSDN tells you that you see that the flag is not supported, write copy. You cannot allocate a write copy protection that has a constant value of 80 using these API calls, virtualalloc and virtualalloc.ex API calls. But if you remember what Kulos did, it did not use this API call, it used ntmap of section. It turns out that by modifying that, you can allocate a memory with a write copy protection. Okay, so this is what it is. So I changed the Kulos code to start explorer.exe in the suspended mode. Then you see that when it is allocating a memory using ntmap of section, I change the parameter to 80, that is page execute write copy. Notice what happened here. At the 6 followed by 4 zeros, the region now has a write copy protection, and then the malware injects the code in this region. Now we have a memory region that has write copy protection. Okay, then I allowed the Kulos to run. At this point, what it does, it copies the explorer.exe code into its own memory region. It patches it, uses ntmap to copy it back. Okay, so it will look like this. It is exactly similar to Kulos, but what we did was we modified the injected code's memory protection to write copy. So when the thread executes, explorer.exe is going to execute. It will redirect the control to this injected code. Now, the question really is, will the memory forensic plugin detect this kind of hollow process injection? Let me show you the video demo of the modified Kulos, analysis of modified Kulos memory image. Running the PS list, you see this time there are 2 instances of explorer.exe running. Again, looking at the parent-child relationship, it's really hard to tell, because you know what, explorer.exe is started by user init.exe and it terminates. And if I inject a code and terminate itself, it will be a little hard to tell the parent-child relationship. So that's the reason instead of svchost.exe, I injected code into explorer.exe. That's one thing. Second, running the DLL list, which looks for the which looks in the PEB structure, you see that explorer.exe is loaded at this address. Let's run the LDR modules. According to the LDR modules, okay, at that address there is no path, giving you a feeling of Stuxnet. Again, traditional hollow process injection. Now you might, while you are analyzing, you might think that okay, you found a hollow process code. Probably next what you'll do is you'll run Malfind. So let's run Malfind. Malfind, notice it detects another memory region. It detects this region where the explorer.exe was loaded, so the patched explorer.exe, but notice it at the bottom, it does not detect the injected code where we change the memory protection. So we have successfully bypassed the memory protection. Now, and also we have given a feeling that this is a traditional hollow process injection. Now what you might do is, you might dump this executable, which is a patched svchost.exe explorer.exe, which is not really a malicious component. You might analyze it, you might run it in a sandbox, you'll get nothing. So what you'll probably think that probably the malware is doing nothing. But in reality, you missed the code that was injected and where the redirection happened. So let me submit this explore.exe, show you, it says it's patched. But if you don't notice, you think that it's malicious and you'll be kind of happy saying that I found the hollowed process, but you really didn't find it. You just found the executable that patched and redirected the code. So now, that's why to address this discrepancy, I wrote HoloFind plugin. Let's see how that addresses the problem, how to use HoloFind to detect this type of anti-memory forensic tricks. So running that against a memory image, you see that explore.exe, it shows a discrepancy in the path. It shows that there is a page execute read write. Apart from that, like I said, it also shows the redirection, because you see there is a no up instruction, push and a ret instruction, which will redirect the control to this region, which means now you know you want to focus your analysis in this memory region. Okay. Apart from that, it also shows you the suspicious memory region. You see that 600 was missed by malfind, but it was able to detect by HoloFind. The logic is this. It's a reverse logic. If an executable is normally loaded, it should have a memory protection of page execute write copy. The reverse logic is, if there is no executable, it should not have a memory protection of write copy, right? So that's the logic. It's a simple logic, but if an executable is present, it should have, normally loaded, it will have a write copy protection. But if there is a code, it will never have a write copy protection. This is something that you can use to detect this type of hollow process injection. Now, you see that the HoloFind plugin tells you the relationship, and also now you can dump the actual malicious component, and then now you can find the actual malicious component. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I've dumped this region of memory because we were able to find that using the HoloFind plugin. Now you submit to VirusTotal. You see that it detects as Kulos. It's not patched, it's detected as Kulos. So this is the code that is doing the malicious activity. As you can see, just by changing the memory protection here, we were able to bypass the forensic tools. Okay. Now it turns out that few days after I did that, there was another malware sample called Kronos, which did almost the same thing as the modified code that I showed you. So what it did, it started explorer.exe in the suspended mode. It used the same technique that I talked about, right? It used the NT-MAPU of section technique. First, instead of injecting a code, it injected the executable directly into this region, 6 followed by 4 zeros. I notice the attackers made sure that the memory protection was set to write copy. Executable, write copy, remember, okay? It injected an executable, but write copy protection. But as you might expect, and then what they did was they patched explorer.exe. When the thread is resumed, it will redirect the code to the address of entry point of the injected executable and start executing. But we know that, does malfind detect this? No, because it is not designed to look for this kind of behavior. Let me show you with a demo if malfind detects it. So this is a sample called Kronos. So this is the Kronos memory image. Let me run the process list, the PS list plugin. You see that there are two instances. Again, attackers use explorer.exe. The reason is this. So you see, it's really little difficult to tell from the parent-child relationship. The reason is because you see that both parents are not in the process listing. The reason is, on a clean system, user init.exe starts explorer.exe and terminates itself. So it is not in the process listing. And also the malware injected code and terminate itself, so it's not in the process listing. So just by looking at the parent-child relationship, it makes it little hard to tell which is malicious. But you see that you can look for the creation time and stuff like that, but still you'll be able to detect it. You see that, but this is the process that's suspicious in this case, the process ID 860. What I want to show you is, let me show you the discrepancy that it creates. You see that in the DLL list, explore.exe, it's telling that it's loaded at this address, similar to the Kulos. And the LDR modules will tell you that at that address there is no executable, again giving you a feeling of Stuxnet kind of hollow process injection. Then you might run malfind plugin. You see running the Malfind plugin will only give you that region where the explorer.exe was loaded, which is a patched explorer.exe. But notice, it does not detect, let me show you that. It does not detect the region where the executable is injected. That is 6 followed by 4 zeros. So the attackers were able to bypass the plugins, the existing volatility plugins, and redirect the code. So how do we solve this problem then? So what I'm doing is I'm dumping the code. So let's say you ran Malfind. Now you thought that you found the actual hollow process injection. You dump the process. You will be dumping the patched explorer.exe. And again, you might analyze it. You might be focused. You will be misled, and you will be analyzing the executable that is patched. And only the 3 instructions, in this case I think 2 instructions were patched. So again, you see that when you submit this, it is giving a feeling that it's malicious, but it is based on the heuristics. Okay, but still, normally you don't see this. You say that the AV vendors are detecting it, and you'll think that it is malicious, and you probably think that you found the malicious component and you stop your analysis, but that's not the case here. Unless you know how this hollow process injection works, you will be missing the actual component. So let me show you how HoloFind addresses this problem. Okay, HoloFind plugin was designed to detect this type of hollow process injection as well. Okay, you see that there is a discrepancy, path discrepancy. Explorer.exe doesn't have a path in the VAD. It has a page execute read write protection, that's fine. But notice the address of entry point. Let me come to that. In this case, there are only 2 instructions that are modified. The rest all are legitimate svc host.exe code. You see that the control is redirected to this region, 6F60, where the 600, remember, an executable was injected. It did not go to 6000 because the first few bytes are the headers, right? It's the P header. Then starts the code. So it is redirecting the control to the address of entry point of the injected executable and then executes it. So now how do we detect this? What other logic that the HoloFind uses? Let me show you. You see that it is showing the parent-child relationship, but what's interesting here is HoloFind was able to detect the suspicious memory region 6000. What is the logic now? There is an executable, there is a page execute read write copy protection, which is normal. But what it is looking for is, it is checking if there is a memory mapped file. Was it loaded from the disk, right? If it is not loaded from the disk, it is injected. That's exactly what it's looking for. Even if it is PE, even if it is a write copy protection, it does another check to see whether it was loaded from the hard disk. If it is not loaded from the hard disk, which means it was injected. And also it shows you this suspicious, this memory region where explorer.exe was patched. This is how you can detect this type of hollow process injection using HoloFind plugin. Now we know that now the HoloFind plugin was able to show you the redirection, and it was able to show the executable that's injected. Now let's dump this region of memory, that is the executable that is injected, which we missed in the normal memory forensics. Let's dump it, and I'm dumping using a plugin called VAD dump, and I'm dumping that section of memory and submitting that to VirusTotal. Let's see what happens. You see now 17 out of 55 are detecting it as malicious, and now you see that the AV vendors are detecting as Kronos, and stuff like that. So now, as you can see, how attackers, by creating different variations of hollow process injection, attackers were able to bypass your existing forensic tools. It's not just bypass, it is also confuse the analyst, because the analysts rely on the tools. They rely on the output from the tools. But here, because the tools are diverted, it can easily confuse, divert, bypass, and it can also create uncertainty in the minds of the security analyst. Okay, but in case if you encounter such scenario, it's HoloFind plugin, it's open source. Just download HoloFind plugin and run it. So it will directly pinpoint to the process. It will try to detect all these types of hollow process injection. So with that, I've come to the end of the presentation. So the key takeaways from this presentation is that the attackers are finding new ways to bypass and confuse your analysis, and they're able to bypass your existing tools. Now, the existing tools were designed with a certain logic. Now, the attackers come up with logic that can bypass these tools, which means you'll have to know when to rely on these tools and when not to rely on these tools, which means understanding these type of techniques will help you better fight and counter such attacks. Okay, so with that, so these are some of the references. You can go to the first one is a blog where I talk about this type of hollow process injection, and also after this presentation, this presentation will be posted on the Black Hat site. With that, I've almost come to the end of the presentation. And also, if you are interested in attending, I'm presenting this presentation again tomorrow at 2:15 p.m. Or if your friends are attending other presentation, and if you like this presentation, you want them to attend, let them know that I'm presenting the same presentation tomorrow as well. So with that, I conclude this presentation, and also feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions. And I hope you enjoy the sessions. And I think now if I have time, I can take questions. Do we have time to take questions? Okay. So I think we have 1 minute. Or 1 more minute. If you have any questions, I would be happy to take questions. Yes, please.
Any notable incidences that have used this?
Yes, these are all real malwares. The Kronos was a real malware. Kulos is a real malware. I think it's a Russian malware, crimeware, which steals your sensitive information. Kulos, Kronos. Pydur is a malware that's used in espionage in various attacks. So each malware author does it differently. Basically, the idea is to confuse the analysis. So all these are real malwares used in the actual attacks. Which one? Yep. So I think we completed on time. Thank you very much for attending. I hope you enjoy the session, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions. Thank you very much.